Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is your man Fetch the Great checking in once again, and let's get straight to it. Let's talk about higher learning today. Let's talk about the institution of higher learning in the United States of America, guys. Now, I don't know about how old you are, whoever you are watching this video right now, but when I was coming up as a child, right, we had this great belief. It's almost like this dream that they sold all of us as children in the United States of America. They sold us this dream that if you go to college, right, you go to college. Well, first of all, you make good grades in school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, and then you make your way to college. And then, guys, once you get to college, you bust your ass, you make the grades, hoping that you obviously pick the right career field, obviously. But you work your butt off, you make the grades, you excel, and then once you get out of college, we were always told that we would be guaranteed a good paying job. A good paying job straight out of college. Now, I laugh a little bit when I say that, only due to the fact that, obviously at this point in my life, I'm 39 years old, on my way towards 40, and I can definitely say with 100% certainty that is an absolute false narrative, and that there are so many people on a daily basis, not only now, but even back then when I graduated from college, there's so many people that went through that institution of higher learning. They had a good major, they bust their ass, they made the grades. However, once they actually graduated and they made it into the real world, so many people were met with the unwelcoming and harsh reality of the fact that that degree was damn near useless. And in many scenarios, people, absolutely mortgaged so much money. They put themselves in so much debt that by the time they got out of college, not only did they have all of this debt that they had to contend with, but obviously, if you didn't pick the right field, you didn't major in the right, subgenre or category, if you didn't major in something that's actually going to make some money, not only do you find yourself with a mountain high pile of debt on your hands, but you also see yourself having to become yet another statistic as far as someone who has gone through college, gotten a degree that is damn near useless, and then now you're dealt with the old catch-22 where you're between a rock and a hard place, because now I've gone through college, I've done everything that you guys told me that I need to do, and yet I find myself out here in the real world and I'm not able to even get a goddamn job. So my question to you all out there is this: is college a scam in the United States of America? Is college a scam? Now, before you answer that, or before you even think about that question, let me give you my personal experience. Obviously, if you've seen any of my previous content, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I was always a scholar. Pretty much for the majority of my life, I was a scholar. I excelled in elementary through high school. I went to college. I chose an HBCU personally, the greatest HBCU in all the land, at the top, the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, Florida A&M University. Go Rattlers. That's my alma mater. That's where I decided to go for college. I graduated from Florida A&M University with a major in business administration with a double concentration in finance and marketing. That was my path to and through college. And when I was in high school, right, we always used to have this notion that, oh man, you got to choose one of these degree fields if you want to make some money. You got to either get into business. I know that's kind of funny now when you think about the fact that business is kind of looked at as a very vanilla, kind of directionless degree, because it can go in so many different directions. But at the same time, that's what makes a business administration degree valuable, is the fact that you can be used in so many different fields. Anyways, you go into business, or either you go get an engineering degree, or perhaps you get into pre-law. Maybe you want to go and ultimately become a lawyer. Maybe you want to get into med school. What fields am I missing, guys? What fields am I missing? There's a few that are particularly looked upon as being, potentially lucrative. That's my point. So That was kind of what we were always led towards, especially at my high school, which was, as I love to brag about, was the #1 high school in the nation my senior year. So we were kind of set up for success as far as being told which fields are actually going to be the most lucrative. But just because our counselors or people that we speak with, just because that's the information that they were cascading down to us, that doesn't make it so. That doesn't mean that just because you get into one of these career paths or you major in one of these fields that you're necessarily going to get a good job once you actually graduate. And that's the problem. That's the problem, because if you go into it with your eyes wide open, by all means, if you actually go into the situation with your eyes wide open and you know that even though I major in this particular field, even if I make a fucking 4.0 in this field at this college, there's still a chance that I might come out to a brick wall economy. I might still not be able to get a decent job. As long as you know that when you're going into college, by all means, please don't let anyone deter you from what you want to do. Do it. But my only concern is, and my only complaint here, and my only question, as you see on the screen there, is college a scam in this country? Because far too often what we find is that children are constantly given this one narrative, like there's only one way to be successful in life. When we as adults obviously know that there's so many different ways you can be a success in this world. You don't have to follow this one path. You can completely veer off path, make your own fucking path while everybody else is driving straight, and you can still be just as successful, if not even more successful, than someone who does go in that path as far as higher learning and going to college, right? I think we all would agree with that. It's just a fact. Now, once again, I speak from the position and from the standpoint of someone who did go to college. I went to college, I excelled, I graduated in 4 years. Not to say that, some people that start college fall off and then they go back and finish, not to say that they can't be successful. This is the way that I did it. So I don't look at college as being a scam from my standpoint, only because I always had the mindset to research things thoroughly to make sure that I knew exactly what I was getting into. And my parents obviously were always extremely supportive, and they always pushed me to achieve the highest level possible as well. So I've always been a little bit different. I've always been extremely driven. So college just seemed like the logical path for me. If you're a scholar, you're doing well in elementary through high school, college just makes sense, right? But college is not for everyone. You can't just continue to try to fit square pegs into round holes time and time again. Just because someone says that they don't want to go to college, it doesn't mean that they're lazy. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be successful. Maybe that's just not the path that is actually intended for them. And far too often what I see is that parents don't really listen to their children. Sometimes they're not intuitive enough, and sometimes they just try to force certain actions upon them, and they try to live vicariously through their child. Like, oh, well, I didn't get to go to college, so you have to go. Okay. You can have that mentality as a parent if you want, but you're just setting yourself and your child up for failure if you do that. I just want you to know that. And when I ask the question of if whether or not college is a scam, what I mean by that is, are we still selling that age-old dream at this point? Because like I said, this is what we were being this is that narrative that was being driven in our heads from the time I was in middle school. And I'm an old guy, I'm 39. So I was in middle school well over 20 years ago. What am I saying? I graduated from high school a little more than 20 years ago. So middle school was probably about 25 years ago. And they always fed us this dream that, hey, you got to go to college. You have to go to college to make something of yourself. Get a good job. Work for about 20 to 30 years, and then you can retire. That's the dream? That is what we're aiming for? That's why every single day of my life, extremely ass backwards logic like that we are continuing to perpetuate in society time and time again. That's what keeps me driving so hard towards other endeavors outside of corporate America every day. I'm constantly working on other streams of income outside of my 9-to-5 because I want to break away from this corporate American rat race that I am currently a slave to. I make good money, but don't get it twisted. At no point do I think that this corporate American rat race is somehow in my favor in any way. No, they want you to just spend the absolute best years of your life busting your ass, helping them increase their bottom line, and then you're left with nothing at the end of the day except memories and regret and resentment about the fact that you did not do enough to get yourself out of it earlier, which is why I'm 39 years old and I am making every single I'm taking every single step that I can possibly take, and I'm busting my ass away from work to make sure that I set myself up to be able to be completely self-sustainable in different endeavors and different streams of income away from this job so that I can completely break away and be free. That's just my mentality. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm actively doing. So, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent there. So, back to the question about whether or not college is a scam in this country. I don't think that the actual institution itself that is higher learning, that is going to university, going to a college, as far as, furthering your education, I don't think that part is a scam. The scam is the entire infrastructure around it, right? Financial aid. Oh my God. Financial aid in this fucking country when it comes to college. If I could just give myself a stern talking to, if I could give my 18-year-old self a stern talking to, that is the one thing. And I have no regrets in life, guys. But if I could just go back and just have a talk with my 18-year-old self who didn't know better, I would definitely tell him, do not accept the student loans that they offer you. Do not accept the free money, because nothing is free. Nothing in life is free. Student loans are the biggest scam in this country. Well, I think it actually kind of goes back and forth between student loans and healthcare. Student loans, healthcare. Student loans, healthcare. Those are the two biggest rackets that they run in this country, because they're both intended to get you into an exponential level of debt, right? So when it comes to student loans specifically, though, when I was 18 years old, and even though I had scholarships, it still wouldn't be enough to ultimately cover all of my expenses as far as, housing, things of that nature. College is expensive. In case you guys don't know this, college is a very expensive thing, even when you're getting scholarships like I had. So, me and my parents, this is our first time through figuring it out. So we're at the financial aid office trying to figure it out. And they say, hey, you qualify for all of these student loans. And being a novice at this game, we figured, okay, yeah, sounds good. Looked over the terms. All right, looks decent. We need it more, most importantly. It's not like we were just getting it just because, but we needed it. We needed it in order for me to be able to have sufficient funding for everything that I was doing. And lots of expenses. That's the point here. So I did that. And the loans that I actually agreed to in that freshman year in college, they were Stafford loans. In case you don't know what Stafford loans are, those are like what were they? Unsubsidized loans, and they have these super high, sky high interest on them, and it was just an absolute mess. Now, obviously, when you know better, you do better. So by the time I needed any more loans, we got the ones that didn't have all the high interest. They were completely different kind of loan. And if we would have had somebody who was actually competent in that financial aid office who was guiding us through that process, we would have been able to avoid that pitfall from the start, but we didn't. So we had to learn things the hard way. And if there's anyone out there who's currently in that process of applying to college or possibly about to go to college very soon, I want you to know that student loans don't necessarily have to be a bad thing if that's what you actually need. Please, only obtain student loans if you need them. Don't just get it because you think you're just going to be on campus balling out, because trust me, it's going to come a time where you have to pay the fucking piper at some point. You know what I'm saying? At some point, all of those loans are going to come due. Now, when you first graduate, you can put it in deferment until you find yourself a job. But once you find a job out of college, once you graduate from college, once you find a fucking job, you better believe whoever you got those student loans from is going to come knocking at your front door saying, okay, you done with college? All right, where's the money? Time to pay it back. Nope, fuck all that deferment shit. Fuck all that forbearance shit. We don't want to hear none of that, playboy. You got a job now? Time to start paying back all those tens of thousands of dollars that you borrowed from us so that you could go through college. This is life. This is life. This is the shit that they don't tell you. I don't give a fuck how smart you are. I don't give a fuck how much you think you got it figured out. Trust me, once you actually are facing these extremely sky-high tuition costs and room and board and trying to survive and trying to live and trying to actually make your way and matriculate through college, trust me, regardless how good of a plan you have, there's going to be certain expenses that, unless your family is balling like that, you're going to need some help. The average student is going to need some help in the form of student loans along the way. It's just how it is, guys. And unfortunately, in this country, one of the biggest scams and one of the biggest problems that we have with young people being put into exponential sky-high amounts of debt is the amount of student loans that are constantly being given to them at the college level. Is it going to change? No, because it's just one of those things that is a necessary evil. Students need funding. So we're going to go ahead and get your parents to co-sign this loan with you, put it on their credit as well. And my parents had like perfect credit, like 820 credit score. So they got they qualify for every single fucking kind of loan that you could possibly ask for. Now, my parents are very fiscally responsible people, so obviously we only took what we needed. But the point is that if you need it and you have a good enough credit score, they will gladly give it to you. Just know that interest rate is going to be stupid unless your credit is great, which my parents was. But even with that, the interest rate's not going to be in your favor. I'm telling you guys, it's a dirty, dirty game that they play in this country when it comes to higher education. They want to constantly advocate for it and say it's so important for kids to go to college and get an education and get these degrees because we need you guys to get into these STEM fields. We need you to do it. In order for you to be able to get into these STEM majors, because we constantly need more people in all of these science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We need more people. We need more people in the world to fill these roles. But what they don't tell you is that while you're in college, getting the education, obtaining and developing the skills necessary to fill these roles, we're going to give you all these student loans so that you're going to be in a fucking mountain of debt by the time you graduate. A debt that is just downright insurmountable to the average person. It's a scam. In some aspects, it is absolutely a scam, guys. Like I said, it's not college itself as far as the institution of higher learning. That is the scam. It's all the dirty shit around it. The financing aspect. The lies that they constantly spew towards the youth of this country, saying that if you go to college, you're going to be something. If you go to college, when you graduate, you're going to get a good job. Bullshit. The average person that goes to college comes out to a brick wall market like I did. You got to figure it out, playboy. It's just how it is. I graduated from college in December. All right, I went to college in August of 2004. I graduated from college in December of 2008. In case you're wondering, some of you trolls out there say, "Oh, Fetch, what you mean? It took you a little bit longer than 4 years to graduate? I thought you were super smart. What happened? I thought you were a scholar. What happened?" Well, listen, you fuckers. I was a scholar. I was exceptional. But believe it or not, in my sophomore year, I got caught by the bug as far as wanting to switch my major. It was a very short switch. I changed out of the School of Business and Industry. I was a business admin major. But I've always had a gift of gab. I've always been extremely articulate, a great speaker. So I wanted to switch over to broadcast journalism. Well, it only took me one semester, guys, to realize that was a mistake. And I immediately went and begged the dean of the School of Business and Industry to let me back in, please. I fucked up. I don't know what I was thinking. I ain't ever going to mess up like this again. You just let me back in that school, dean. I'll never fuck up like this again. And he said, "All right, Thatch, I'll let you back in. Bring your ass back in. I'll let you back into the School of Business and Industry." So once I got him back into the School of Business at FAMU, I just kept rocking out and I graduated. Honestly, like I said, due to the fact that I made that switch in major for that one semester, it threw me off just by one semester, which is why I graduated in December instead of that summer. So all you fuckers that want to troll, because I know that's what y'all gonna say first thing, "Oh, I thought you were so smart. Why was it 4.5 years instead of 4 years?" That was why. I briefly switched my major and I had to switch back. So anyways, when I graduated from college with that degree in business administration, double concentration in finance and marketing, I thought I was hot shit. I had been interviewing with all these different companies, Deloitte Touche, KPMG, Ernst & Young, Edward Jones. I thought I was just going to come straight out of college to a nice cushy job. I did all the work. I excelled at school. I did my thing. So sure enough, somebody's going to want to go ahead and hand me a big check right out the gate, right? Yeah. Right. It didn't quite go like that, guys. Let me tell you, it didn't quite go like that. When I graduated, there was nothing out there waiting for me. There was nothing out there waiting for me as a fresh college graduate. In fact, when I came back to Jacksonville, I had this bullshit job. Scam. The job was a scam, you know. And the thing is, it was like some marketing firm or something. They called themselves a marketing firm. But what you realize now looking back is that that's what all these jobs call themselves whenever they're completely like 100% commission based. They call themselves marketing firms. So here I am thinking that I'm hot shit. I'm like, okay, marketing firm, you know, I got double concentration in finance and marketing. Hey, this might help me bolster my resume, even if it don't pay the most. Okay, great. Bruh, 100% commission, and it was on some door-to-door business-to-business sales. Bullshit, in case you're not picking up what I'm laying down. Bullshit. They got me. They got me for two months before I just said, fuck it. This ain't life. I didn't go to college and bust my ass for no fuck shit like this. So I chucked the deuces and told them that they can kiss my ass after 2 months. So then I'm right back out just trying to figure it out. You know where I landed after that, guys? I landed at Aaron's Sales and Lease. Do you know what Aaron's is, bro? Aaron's is a rent-to-own place. You know, where you go and you for people with like bad credit, you know, people where you go and get furniture, TVs, appliances, things of that nature. That's where I was working. Started out as an MT, blew that out the park. Then I became the sales manager. Then I became the general manager within about a year and a half, right? So I was killing it. Don't get me wrong. You put me anywhere on this earth, I'm going to fucking do my thing. I'm going to make it do what it do regardless of where you put me. But I knew that was some bullshit. I didn't go to college to work at Aaron's, working 60 hours a week. You know, you feel me? I don't give a fuck what my title was there. Working 60 hours a week. I got a college degree. I'm not supposed to be working here. No offense to you mofos, but that one is not supposed to be working amongst you scrubs and errands. It's just not how it's supposed to be. So, as life would have it, right when I was reaching that point of, all right, this is some fuck shit, right? I got contacted by a recruiter from a mortgage company, and, you know, they saw my resume out there. You know, I was, you know, fishing it around Indeed at that time, or was it LinkedIn? Indeed. Yeah, I didn't have LinkedIn yet. And they were impressed with my credentials, and, you know, they kind of painted the picture as far as, you know, the prospect of possibly coming and working in the mortgage industry, becoming a processor, which I knew nothing about the entire industry, knew nothing about mortgages at that point, knew nothing about nothing. But it was interesting. It sounded like something that I would actually find fulfilling. Interview, knocked it out the park, and believe it or not, guys, that's where my professional career started. Once I accepted that offer for my first real job. That was my first real job out of college. It took me 2.5 years to actually get a real job out of what I consider to be a real job. Don't get me wrong. I was making money at Aaron's, but when you're working 60 hours a week, is that really money? No, it's not. Because when you average it out, you're still making peanuts due to the fact that you're having to sacrifice so much of your time to be there. So when my career really started from the mortgage industry, where I first started was at that point. Took me 2.5 years to get a real job that was paying some real money out of college, you know? So that I'm not giving that story to you to deter you if you're looking forward to going to college. I still want you to go to college. I just want you to be going into the situation with your eyes wide open instead of just bullshit that people have told you. Give me 1 second. Let me read one of these comments. Oh, y'all are pretty quiet today. Okay. Drew McFly. What's going on, bro? I remember you from a few videos ago. What's going on, bro? You said, seeing how ridiculously expensive that shit is, I'm going to have to say, yeah, it's a scam. It's free like everywhere else. Yeah, like everywhere else. It's free like everywhere else. You don't pause until like university. You don't pause if you're about that scientist life or space. What do you say? I don't get that last part, Drew. You don't pause until like university. If I'm not sure what you're saying at the end there, but yeah. The interesting part about it, now that you mentioned that, Drew, is that in many countries, higher education is truly free. I can't remember the country. If somebody was just talking about that the other day. If you guys know, please put it in the comments. If you can think of some countries where higher learning is free. It was some very popular countries, bigger ones. And I can't remember. God, this is going to really bother me that I can't think about this in real time. But there are many countries out there where it's like an accepted fact. Like once you go through whatever their equivalent to high school is, you go to college. You go and get more education, and it's paid for. Kind of like, you know, how Canada has their healthcare system is free. And they're not the only ones with that infrastructure and that system in place. It just seems like in this country, the United States of America, it just seems like every single thing has to have a malevolent intent behind it. Every single thing has to be money driven. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand we live in a capitalist society. Shit, if I gotta keep it a stack, at my very core, I do consider myself to be a capitalist. We all want to make as much money as we possibly can, right? We all want to make money, but I'm not going to make money at the expense of me selling my soul. Never that. And I think that this country has sold its soul for a buck. That's just the way this country operates. Every single thing is money driven. And yet somehow we're still in like a $28 trillion national debt as a country. Can you explain that? Can you explain that to me? Because I pondered on this many times. How are we still in damn near a $30 trillion debt as a country? It may have exceeded that point by now. Last time I checked, it was approaching 30 trillion in that particular direction. How are we still in that? We have this capitalistic mentality as a whole in this country, and yet we're in debt. Unbelievable. Anyways, man, getting back to the original premise of the video. Wait a minute, hold on. We got another comment here, but I don't know what the hell he's saying. If anybody can translate what this guy said on the screen, let me know, because I don't know what the fuck he said. Roken istenak mek or Borden Mingden Easton make I don't know what you're saying, bro. I speak English. Can you translate that for me and send it back? I'm more than open to answer any questions. Anybody who's trying to join the conversation. But as far as college, man, when I was let me reset 1 second. I have a nephew who's about to graduate from high school. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think that. Let me make sure I don't say the wrong thing here. I don't believe that he's necessarily interested in going to college. Every time that I have alone time with him, you know, I try to take him to the gym with me, or maybe if we're just outside talking, I'm constantly trying to pick his brain out, because I want to make sure that he's, you know, got the right mindset, regardless of what you want to do with your life. I want to make sure that he has the right mindset, you know, without overstepping, because I'm not his father, I'm his uncle. But I'm just one of those people that I want to see people succeed. I want to see you be the best version of yourself. And me and his father, my brother, we're just very different, you know. So every time I'm alone with my nephew, I'm constantly trying to pick his brain, constantly asking him questions that I can tell he's never been asked before. I'm asking him about everything in life, because everybody needs that person that they can just talk to objectively without having to veil their thoughts, right? Everybody has someone that I don't really have that, honestly. Like somebody you can just talk to without having to even remotely cover or feign what you're saying. You can just give them the unbridled feelings that you're feeling. So I want to be that sounding board if possible. Anytime I talk to my nephew, because I want him to be successful. I want him to be encouraged. I want him to be empowered. I want him to be supported, and I want him to be successful in life as a young man. So anytime I talk to him, and I can see that college isn't really probably in the cards for him, just from the way, you know, he expresses himself to me. But so I'm trying to go through different thoughts and ideas with him. Okay, so what about this? Well, what are you interested in? What do you feel passionate about? And to be honest with you, I don't think he has any fucking clue what he's passionate about. And that's a representation of his generation as a whole, you know. But you better believe that this beautiful little girl that I'm raising, my daughter, by the time she's 18, I guarantee you she's going to know exactly what areas and what path she wants to go towards, because she's going to be living, she's going to be experiencing so much. I'm going to constantly be teaching her everything. I'm going to constantly allow her to figure out what she wants to do in the world. I'm also going to continue to challenge her mind. I want her to be extremely inquisitive about the world. I want her to always be intellectually curious about every single thing that this world has to offer. The worst thing that a young person can be is just complacent with not even living life yet. By the time you're 18, not only should you have tons of ideas about what you want to do with your life, you should be just busting at the seams about, oh, okay, I want to do this, that, and the third. I'm going to try this. And even if I fail at this, I'm going to try this and that. You should have, you can't be scared to fail. That's the important thing that I cannot stress enough to anybody. You have to try. If you don't, trying and failing is absolutely acceptable. You should never have a fear of failure. The only fear I have is looking back at something that I didn't try, that I know I may have been good at. That's my biggest failure. I mean, that's my biggest fear. The idea of failure itself doesn't scare me at all, because anybody who actually has the nuts to actually try something should be commended. At least you tried. At least you put your best foot forward. You went for it. Didn't work out, but hey, it happens. But one thing I have no respect for is a would've, could've, should've been ass motherfucker who never even put the first foot forward towards going for what they really want. Got no respect for that at all. At some point, man, you got to go for it. You got to take that leap one way or another. Shit. When I first started doing this here, what you see me doing here, I knew that I was a pretty good talker. I knew I was a pretty good speaker. I consider myself to be articulate. I consider myself to be articulate, intelligent. I consider myself to be likable, but do people like me? I don't know. But then again, I don't do this shit to be liked. I do this to spread my philosophy, my mindset with the world. Some people like it, some don't. But then again, seeing as I'm actually trying to bring value in what I'm doing here, I don't get the most likes. I don't get the most subs. I don't get the most followers, and that's fine. I'm not doing stupid dances. I'm not here to be a clown and entertain. I'm here to advance thought-provoking topics, and hopefully the world joins in. If not, cool. I like talking. I like hearing myself. That's fine with me. This is something that I'm trying. I started this 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. Doing pretty decent so far, I'd say. It's something I enjoy. I'm passionate about this. I don't give a fuck who follows, who watches, who likes, who subscribes. I don't care. This is very valuable. You would not believe some of the messages that I get from people about some of my previous videos about how much I've helped them, just their mindset, the way that they weren't looking at it this way, or they were going through the exact same scenario, the exact same situation. Thank you for that video. That really helped me. That's all I care about. Let's have the real conversations about life, about things in the world. Let's have the real conversation. That's why I call my podcast The Deep End. I'm not here to have shallow conversation when we're just talking about the same surface level shit. That's not why I do this. Anyways, didn't mean to get off on a tangent there, but it is what it is. I guess I'll wrap this up. You guys are extremely quiet tonight. You know, nobody, only Drew had something to say. That's cool though. I guess I will end it by saying, at the end of the day, oh no, I can't end it yet because I didn't finish talking about my nephew. Okay. One thing that I never did, just getting back to the story about my nephew, one thing that I've never done is try to force the idea on him that college is where, hey man, you don't know what to do? College is where you need to go. You got to go to college, man. Hey, I know you might not have thought about it, but college, you got to figure out a way to get in there. No. But if college is not the plan, here's the thing. College should be plan A. Higher learning should be plan A, unless you have an extremely entrepreneurial mind. If you already have some type of business plan in mind that's already well thought out and constructed, because that's my goal, particularly with my daughter specifically. You know, I have, not only do I have a 529 that I'm constantly contributing money towards for my daughter, but I also have what's known as an UTMA, which is an account where I'm contributing money to that. And when she gets to the age of when she becomes of age, the assets will become available to her. And by that time, those assets become available to her. She'll be able to use those funds for whatever she decides she wants to do. She has an amazing business plan. She has some investments that she wants to make with it. You can do whatever you want to do with it, baby. Daddy's just doing this in advance because I know you're going to already have so many things figured out by that point. I want to make sure that I'm setting my daughter up for success in every way possible. Not only in the 529 aspect, as far as going towards your schooling for whatever you decide to do in that realm, but away from school. I know you're going to have all kinds of great ideas, and I want you to have that initial nest egg of funds that you can use to do with whatever you want to do with it, baby. That's what I want to have in effect for my daughter. Hopefully, you guys hear this and you start doing the same for your children, if just in case you're not already doing that, if you're able to. Just set your kids up for success as much as you possibly can. I guess that's my point. They're still going to have to do the work themselves, obviously, but it's your job as a parent to make sure that you're making it as simple as possible for them to only focus on the things that they need to focus on. The stresses of financing, the stresses of money, that's not something that I want my daughter to have to worry about anytime soon in the near future. I want her to just concentrate on being an amazing little girl. I want her to concentrate on doing good in school. I want to concentrate on her concentrate on getting and learning all the values that I'm instilling in her about the world and how she needs to conduct herself and how she's to carry herself to deal with this world, because it's constantly getting more and more wicked out there. So that's what I want her to concentrate on. But money, I don't want that to be something that my daughter has to worry about. So I'm making sure that I take the necessary steps so that she doesn't have to worry about that. And yeah, I think I'll just leave that there. College is a good thing, guys. I don't want to create the wrong tone with this video. College is an amazing thing. I learned so much about myself and the world as well during those 4.5 years that I was in Tallahassee. I learned so much. I met so many amazing, brilliant minds at Florida A&M University. Oh my God. My time on the Hill, those memories I'll be taking with me for the rest of my life. Now, don't get me wrong, I hate Tallahassee as a town because it's a college town. If you don't go to college there, I don't see how you can just live there. But an amazing time. College taught me so much about the world, and it also taught me self-sufficiency. Nobody there to be over your shoulder telling you have to do this. Okay, it's time to do that, time to do this. No, nobody's there to hold your hand when you're in college, guys. Either you are built for it or you're not, and you're going to find that out within that first year. Turns out I was built for it. Several people that I went down to Tallahassee with, they were not built for it whatsoever, and they got their asses kicked out within 2 years. College is not for everyone, but for those that it actually is for, it is a beautiful thing. But if you do decide to go to college, just make sure that you're going into it with open eyes, guys. Just make sure that you know the reason that you're going there. Make sure that you truly know and hear the reason that you're going to college. It shouldn't be for anyone but yourself, and it should be with a plan in mind that I am going to college so that I can obtain this particular degree in this field, and potentially upon me graduating, I should be able to hopefully get one of these kinds of jobs. If you don't already have a clear path to what you want from that college education, I would highly advise you to wait until you actually do. Very simple advice, but very actionable advice as well. All right. And that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. It's been a pleasure as always. At this point, if you found any value in this video, please do like, comment, subscribe. It helps my channel. All right. Y'all stay safe, stay dangerous. This is your man, Thatch the Great. I'll holla. Peace.